afternoon to you, and we start right now with a Fox News alert. The United States reportedly asked to help in the search for the plane that vanished over the Java Sea with 162 passengers on board. Hello, everyone. I'm Heather Nauert in for Gretchen Carlson today. Crews are looking for Asia Air Flight 8501 so far, coming up empty-handed. Officials are now planning to expand the search area more than 24 hours after that plane went missing. Family and friends of the passengers pray for news. Trace Gallagher joins us live in the studio with a look at how this whole thing started. Hi there, Trace.
It was supposed to be a 2-hour flight, Heather, and this thing is about 38 minutes into it is when it happened. The pilot apparently ran into such bad turbulence that he not only wanted to go around the storm, but he wanted to go above and over the storm, which is unusual. He requested from the air traffic controllers to go from 32,000 feet up to 38,000 feet. At first, they said no, not yet, and the reason being is because there were 6 other planes in that general vicinity. But 4 minutes after that request, Flight 8105 disappeared altogether. Some believe because of that it must have been some catastrophic event. But keep in mind, if you go back to the Air France crash, it may very well be, experts say, the fact that the pilots inside this plane may have just been scrambling to try to get that plane under control, and that's why they didn't make a Mayday distress call or a pan-pan, which is a less severe distress call than a Mayday. That apparently is what we're looking at this point in time, Heather.
All right, so Trace, it's about the middle of the night over there right now. What do we know about the search so far?
The search so far, as we know, is off until the morning light comes about 6 or 7 hours from now. They are checking land and sea, but the major focus you can see right here is right in the middle of the Java Sea. It's about the size, give or take, a few square miles of Tennessee. They have found some oil slicks and some other debris, but there is no proof, no indication so far that it comes from the missing plane. There are 15 ships involved in the search, as well as 7 airplanes and 4 helicopters. If you go ahead, we can take a look at what's going on here. It's going to be an easier search than the one at Malaysia 370 because the depth of the water in the Java Sea is only between 130 and 164 feet. So if they can find some of the wreckage, they can easily find the plane from there. They have the detectors that can easily do that. Here's the difference. You look at these two areas. The Indian Ocean, that's where they are still looking for Malaysia Flight 370. Look at the Java Sea. There are vast differences. This is 18,000 feet deep out here. Is it any wonder they can't find the plane when they had no idea where it really went in? In the Java Sea, if they can pinpoint where it went in, we should, in the next hours or days, have an idea of exactly where Flight 8105 is.
And that search resumes at daybreak. Trace Gallagher, thank you so much. We'll check in with you later as news warrants. All right, well, joining us for more on this story is Washington aviation expert Oliver McGee. Oliver, thank you so much for joining us. I want to ask you about something Trace just reported, that air traffic control refused the pilot's request to change course and also altitude, apparently because there was other traffic in the area. So what would that pilot's options then have been?
Well, Heather, the old adage in managing an aircraft in crisis is to aviate, navigate, and then communicate. And essentially, when we see these type of air disasters in these modes, really we're talking about human factors errors. 90% of all crashes are associated with human factors errors, according to FAA's long-standing research on the subject. And in this particular case, you're thinking about a storm. These planes literally fly by themselves, but if you interject panic or some type of catastrophic event inside the aircraft and inside the flight deck, then pilots may tend to overcorrect in such hot modes. It's essentially what we're talking about in 8501. We may have had a hot cockpit. And a similar type of scenario could have been happening in MH370 and also in Air France 447.
It sounds like what you could be pointing to is something that happened with that Air France plane that went down in the Atlantic Ocean in 2009, where basically the instruments kind of went haywire, as I understand it, because there was a high storm, very cold, some ice came in, and that could have contributed the pilots to flying it in the wrong direction, essentially. Is that what you think may have happened here?
Excellent analysis, Heather. That's exactly what has happened here, and we are also speculating that that's what happened at MH370. The takeaway you want to take here is that all 3 scenarios are somewhat identical. And again, once again, we're looking for a black box inside an ocean, And once we lose the 30-day window, then it's a long search.
But
So
Oliver, are you
yes.
optimistic about them finding something pretty soon? Trace was just reporting that the size of the field, at least that they're searching right now, is about the size of Tennessee. That sounds like it would be fairly simple to find something in that kind of area.
Be careful. It's a very difficult process in finding aircraft inside of an ocean. Since 1948, we've lost 70 of them in oceans, and we've only found one, and that was Air France 447.
Boy.
And then, once we got outside the 30-day window of the black box, it took us 2 years to find the black box.
Yeah, but
So
even in something as shallow as this, you're saying it's less than 200 feet deep in some of these areas.
Still, we're in underwater oceans, and we don't have a lot of background of success in this. We've only found one aircraft in the ocean since 1948. Again, this points to the takeaway that I want you to take away here is it's time to put the black box in the cloud. If we had the black box data in the cloud, we could find out more what was happening inside that cockpit right now, even before we begin to find the black box in the ocean.
You know, before I let you go, I want to ask you a question. This is an Airbus plane. It had these pilot-proof features where, as I understand it, even if the pilot wanted to maneuver the plane, the pilot would not be able to do so because it has sort of, you know, these features that allow the computers to take control and not the pilot. Does something like that hurt safety if a pilot can't steer out of a bad situation?
I would be very, very wrong if I said that these airplanes don't fly by themselves. They do. Boeing and Airbus aircraft are fly-by-wire aircraft. They fly by computer. They fly by themselves. It's when the human factor comes into play, particularly in a crisis scenario, that sometimes errors can take place, and 90% of all these mishaps, according to FAA data, are associated with human factors errors.
All right, Oliver McGee, thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for your expertise today.
Thank you for having me.